Why do you think some people claimed that GamerGate was about harassment or hating women?
Because they wanted to say anything but what it was about. I mean, that's the whole point is why would you want to talk about these issues when you can just distract from them and say it's anything else but what it is? It's the same thing for every other controversy. Let's talk about this other thing that really doesn't matter to the main conversation, but let's just talk about it because you kind of got off on that subject. You kind of it could be seen this way. Let's talk about that. So then you start the whole whataboutism, what about this over here? And next thing you know, you're no longer talking about the issue anymore. You're over here talking about something. You're over here talking about gay rights and pride flags in the middle of a Gamergate conversation.
Well, to be clear, I'm not talking about that.
I'm just, I'm
Except,
saying.
well, I guess I am too. Actually, we both are. But
I know. See, that's what I'm saying. But
But you're also
was
talking about like fucking AI and
yeah.
capitalism and like Jesus. We're
Well,
way far afield.
because that was you didn't structure that part of it. You were like, just talk, Pock. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
about whatever
Say a
you
bunch of
want.
stuff that's gonna get you canceled.
I
Say a
don't
bunch of
think
stuff that's
it.
gonna get you
No,
canceled.
I don't think it was bad. I think it was. I think it's. It humanizes you to the reader because it's not just like you, a guy who's like answering questions. You're like actually guiding
I'm
the
a
conversation in ways you want it to go.
I'm a real boy. I'm a real life boy.
I'm just gonna move on from that. How important? How important to you was it that bad actors were condemned?
It started out being important and then it became meaningless. Because at first, like, it was great to be able to say, "Hey, that guy, he's not with us. He doesn't sit at our table." And by the end, it's like, well, now you're just pointing to anyone and saying that. And it's like, well, I've said very clearly what my beliefs are. These are my beliefs. This is what I'm fighting for. I can't say what everyone else is. And eventually, if I just sit here trying to denounce bad actors, that's all I'm doing all the time. That's part of where the fatigue came in. I'm like, you don't want to talk about the issues. You just want to find a villain on our side and then pin everything that they're saying on everyone on our side. It's like we can be as clear as we can possibly be and say that no, we don't support that, and you're still gonna do it anyway. So again, we lack the money and the power to really make our message heard.
Do you think that Gamergate people did a good job condemning harassment for the most part?
I guess more at the start, but again, I think everyone started giving up on that because it was a never ending fight. Because again, all you had to say is, "Oh, but I saw the other day this person with on Twitter with 8 followers and like 2 tweets said this horrible thing about GamerGate. It's a horrible thing about women. And he has the GamerGate hashtag. Look, 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 look." It's like, well, dude, I can't talk for that random Twitter dude.
Well,
None of us can.
why do you think? Who do you think was responsible for these egg accounts? These, or well, I should probably clarify what that is for like people who don't know what Twitter is like. Uh, where do you think these accounts that had like almost no followers, brand new accounts, no tweets, that had sent like harassing or like genuinely sexist stuff, was that us? You think pro Gamergate people, or was it anti or trolls or what?
Who the fuck knows? I mean, unless you have proof of one way or the other, I don't fucking know. They could have been trolls. They could have just been random 4chan trolls causing trouble. They could have been leftists doing it. Because I mean, you look at the Unity thing. Well, I hate circling back to stuff that's happening currently, but Unity, one of the Unity employees called in a bomb threat on their own place just to kind of distract from the thing. You know, it's like it happens. The other side will sometimes do that kind of shit. We can't rule it out. But I can't rule out the fact that this is some real, actual, quote unquote, Gamergate supporters or people that thought they were being Gamergate supporters saying it too. I can't say it's not trolls. I can't say that they weren't a fucking bot network that, came back through time and fucking did it. I don't fucking know. No one knows. No one knows.
Well,
I wish we did.
there were obviously these egg accounts, and then there were these new accounts that no one knows who they were.
Yep.
Then there were these third party trolls, and we do kind of know who those people were. We have a pretty good idea of who those people were. And then of course there was within Gamergate. a faction that kind of broke away and started legitimately harassing people. The GG Revolt crowd, if you remember them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any thoughts on the GamerGate Revolt crowd? Did you think that they were people that you would have welcomed within GamerGate?
No, they're a bunch of fucks. Like, I'm sorry, don't harass people. Don't do it. Like, did I make funny jokes to people? Yes, I did, because I'm a sarcastic asshole, and I'm gonna make funny jokes about people. You know, I'm gonna mock you if I don't like you, but I'm not gonna harass you. Like, I'm not gonna try and find out more information about you, unless you're a terrible person and you're actually harassing the people. Then I'll try and find something out about you, like that. Oh God, what
The
is
guy
his
in
name?
Brazil?
Well, the guy in Brazil, yeah, there was that too. Like, I you know, there were people during Gamergate that needed to be outed for being horrible pieces of shit. But I mean, this was more recent. It was the thing with Ackman and I'm trying to remember his fucking thing.
Oh, bro, I have no fucking clue. I don't.
But anyways, he was a terrible person. Turns out he's like a wife beater too. You know, just like a real piece of shit. So yeah, did I try and find stuff out about him? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Because I felt like he was harassing and attacking people, and so he really needed to be put in his place. And so I understand, like, if someone's doing that, if someone's being a horrible person to everyone, fine. Like, try and find more about them. Try and like actually warn them that they need to stop somehow. But as for like death threats and harassment in real life and all this kind of shit, fucking don't. Just fucking don't. Why? Just fucking why?
If you saw someone on your side, quote unquote, doing something bad or that you thought was bad, how would you handle that situation?
Oh, like I said, I don't know if I said this already, but there's one guy that was talking shit on Twitter, and I straight up told him, like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you doing this?" And he says, "I'm just here to call shit. I don't care about anything. I'm just here to call shit." I was like, "Well, fuck, that's the problem we're having. We got people like you in in this fucking thing." And
Do you
I
think
called it out, but they didn't stop him. He just kept running doing. He just blocked me and kept going.
do you think people like that gave Gamergate a bad reputation
Of
and
course,
caused the bad media narrative?
of course, 100%. Like, there were people that were just there solely to be instigators and rabble rousers, and a lot of them, like when GG Revolt came out, a lot of them went that direction because they're just like, "This is great. I can now really get into this. I have a bunch of friends that'll help me now too." And it's just like, no, like, why? Is your life so small that you need to do this, to be cruel to people for no better reason than just like you're a little upset?
Bro, those GG Revolt people, man, some of them are still unhinged to this day, bro. Like some of them are
Yeah,
still like stalking me to this day, bro. Like they're like
yeah,
still obsessed.
yeah. I know. It's like, what happened? Who hurt you? Who hurt you to make you like this? Because I don't understand these people. It's not a mentality that I can understand. Like, I can obsess over someone or something for a little while. I can do that. Like I said, this other guy who not I almost said no, not Omni. Omni's the one that's actually a really good guy to follow. Don't put Omni's name in this.
I'll take it out.
Um God, what
But don't
God, it's just it's
remind me to take it out because like if I'm editing it like
yeah,
three
no,
months from
like
now, I want to remember.
yeah, no, don't worry. It's in the video. Like, if you want to follow someone who's really cool, um, Infernal Omni on Twitter is a really cool guy who does cool news. I brought in his name by accident because my brain is old and getting tired and cannot remember things I get used to. So, do not. He actually covered the situation I was thinking about. That's why his name's been rattling around in my brain. But yeah. Anyways, um it was I can obsess over some people and I can obsess over some situations for a short time, but I mean, some of these people will go like the Ralph retort still's going about shit, and I'm just like, how do you have the energy to care this long? Like, what do you have in your life that makes you care this long? I can't. It's just not in me. Like like I said, Gamergate died like a couple of months after like the hashtag really stopped being used by us. You know, it's been dead for so long, and it's we all moved on, and people still to this day are still bringing it up and saying all this shit like that. The Gamergate caused Trump to get elected. I'm like, no, no, and no. I'm sure they'd try and blame the Ukraine war and Russia invasion and like COVID and everything else on Gamergate if they could. And I'm just like, I don't fucking get it. I don't get why you're so obsessed. It's been over. It remains over.
Well, talking about Ralph, I guess we have to talk about Ralph in the context of like harassment. This is the harassment section of the
The
interview, but
fun part.
the obviously Mr. Ralph was engaged in, I think it's safe to say, real harassment of people on both
Oh,
sides.
dude. Like, have you been following him more recently?
I don't give a shit about Ralph. I don't follow anything he does.
It's gotten so. It was the stuff he did in Gamergate is baby shit compared to the stuff he does now. Like, oh my god, like why that man has not been arrested is I think it's
Well, he
only
has
because
been
he
arrested actually.
like he only he hasn't been arrested and put in jail is because I think he's in Mexico now hiding out from his other shit. Unless he's been more recently arrested than I know about.
But
I just know he moved.
I think that the story of Ralph is in some ways a positive story for Gamergate, in some ways a negative one. I think that obviously Ralph was like a pretty shitty hurt person, and I think that he probably should have been condemned earlier than he was, including by me perhaps. But when he did cross the line and it was revealed that he was involved with doxing, when he was involved with those articles harassing Lily Fang's family and her boyfriend, I'm sure you remember that situation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I I feel like the entire community, like everybody, even people who like were not even talking about this stuff too much anymore, were like, "Holy shit, no, we got to make it clear that this is not something that we stand for."
yeah. No, I think that was like one of the big hits that our side really took when like it revealed how much of a big piece of shit he was. And it's like because he was originally one of the people that had a platform that was large enough to kind of rattle the establishment, because he had the Ralph retort. It actually was making waves. Like it was starting to come up, and so it was something that could have had a future had it not been run by Ralph. Ethan Ralph is a piece of shit and will always be a piece of shit, and it. In the near decades since, it's just proven how much of a piece of shit he is.
Well, you know the history between me and Ralph, right?
I know a bit of it, but again, like it's been years, so you have to refresh my memory.
I'm not gonna like want to rehash it all every single time we do an interview about this, and any time he comes up. But uh, basically, he allowed a third-party troll to join his server when he was trying to distance himself from GamerGate and went to war with GamerGate people when they went after like Jennifer Medina, Cult of Vivian, myself, Paulo, tons of people. Just like, and he decided to go to war with the GamerGate people. He teamed up with one of the trolls who was like a legit doxer, and allowed me to get doxed on his server, his private chat room.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
And then
Like
of course the logs
that's
got leaked.
that's that's something he does on the regular on his fucking morning with whatever he does now. That's like a common occurrence now.
Oh
Like
really?
this, yes.
Well, allegedly, we got to put that in front of there because
No, it's not allegedly. You can go and look up the recorded logs of him
Well, I know.
digging.
Oh, I
Like
know. I've got logs of my
he
own. Trust me.
no, like he legit is saying we got to find this guy's identity, and he's
But
like
this is in a
legit
book. In
on
a book, you
screen.
have to say allegedly.
He is legit on screen. You can go and look at his. You can go and get his transcripts from his videos that he has done that are still online, where he is actively on that stream watching another streamer, looking up information about said streamer, and finding their real name and information, and calling for that real information to be posted to him on his Discords and Telegrams and whatever else he runs. So this is not alleged. This is he. You can go and see visual proof of him doing it
Oh, trust me, Pawkeshup. Look.
in
I
real time.
agree. I agree. Okay, I'm just saying that if we're putting
Okay,
something in a written form on a book,
allegedly,
we have to quote unquote allegedly. Okay.
allegedly, videos exist online that show him doing this exact thing live in front of everyone.
Allegedly, Osama bin Laden planned 9/11. Oh,
Yes,
allegedly, Hitler was responsible for invading Poland in the Holocaust.
yes.
Allegedly, you know.
Allegedly, Zelenskyy clapped for a Nazi in the middle of Canadian Parliament.
Well, I mean, look. Obviously, I don't think that was good, but
No, but it actually happened. That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
That's why I'm
But
allegedly.
look, hang on. If we're gonna talk about Ukraine in the book and bring it up even like halfway, I want to make sure that I'm not putting out false information. I think that Ukraine
No, he
is
no
a.
no.
Hang
no
on, no. Hey, you can give your point of view in 2 seconds, but I'm gonna give mine too. Okay.
I agree.
Ukraine is a liberal. I know, I'm sure we do, but Ukraine is a liberal democratic society. Does Ukraine have a bit of a history where they don't own up to 100% of the bad things that happened in their past? Yes, that is true. But that doesn't mean that they deserve to be invaded by a totalitarian fascist or by a fascist dictator, I should say, like Vladimir Putin, okay?
Yeah.
And
No.
the United States and our allies should support Ukraine, I believe. But we
Yeah.
might
No.
disagree. I
The
don't know.
whole
Let's see.
fuck up of that little clapping thing. It was all on the minister that brought the guy in, because Zelensky and Trudeau had no idea the guy was going to be there. They had no fucking clue who he was. And this guy just brought him in because I guess he asked his staff to find a World War II vet, and that's who they found.
Yeah, and I can
and,
understand
and
why they have.
they didn't vet him beyond that, and they're like, "Thank you for your service for the fucking Nazis."
Yeah.
It was so bad. It was so bad. But see, I used to live in Canada, so I can tell you that's the kind of fucking mistake Canadian Parliament has made so many fucking times, to just like not vet people that go there. They just like, oh yeah, yeah, that person. Not saying they host Nazis all the time. That was a really spectacular one, but I've seen some shit when I lived in Canada where they're just like, they just take people on their word, and they're just like nice people. They're like, oh yeah, yeah, and then they find out later the person's a piece of shit, and like, oh whoops, fuck, we didn't, oops, sorry. They're not the brightest people in Canadian Parliament. I'm sorry, they're not the brightest. Anyways,
You don't.
I'm derailing the conversation
No, you're
again.
good. You're good. You don't have to answer or talk about it, but did you experience any harassment during Gamergate from either side or from third-party trolls?
Oh, I'm sure some people harass me, but to me, harassment calls goes off like a water off a duck's back. I don't really give a shit. Say what you want to say about me. I'll laugh about it. But like, you cannot be a harsher critic of me than me. You can't. You can. There's not. It's not possible. It's not possible. I had a nickname when I was a kid. Would you like to know my nickname
Sure.
that my
What's your nickname?
family gave me? Danger, Vomit Boy. That's a legit nickname. It was started as Danger Boy because because of the shit I used to do when I was that visiting my brother, and driving his lawnmower around and doing stupid shit. And there's this guy on the radio that's called Danger Boy. And then one time when I was with my other brother riding a bike, I threw up because I only had a bologna sandwich to start my day that day, and a physical exertion made me throw up. And so yeah, I was called Danger Vomit Boy for like a year and a half. You can't you The amount of mockery I've taken in my life, there's nothing you can say to me that I will not say about myself and laugh it off. I can't. I am cast iron.
Why do you think that the media covered harassment that anti-Gamergate people received? but didn't cover anything that pro Gamergate people received.
Because they're their friends. Duh. They're their friends. That was the whole purpose of the whole ethics in game journalism, is that these people are willing to cover what happened to their friends and what happened to their friends. And, oh my God, my friend got called a bad name. My friend got harassed. Oh no! Look at look at what these egg accounts. By the way, for those who don't understand that reference, Twitter used to be when you had a default profile, they only had an egg as your profile picture, and you had to update that. And if you didn't update that, it was probably a new account that you just didn't fucking care about, or was a burner account, or was a new account. That's why we keep calling them egg accounts. You can put that in the book as a little sideline. See, now you can actually use egg account. That's how you do a reference. But anyways, they're like, what? Look at what this egg account said about my friend. But they didn't give a shit about us because they didn't give a shit about us to begin with. Why would they?
Well,
They
to
wrote
be
the
clear,
Gamers Are Dead
though,
articles.
to be clear though, it wasn't just egg accounts. Like people did like actually get doxxed on the other side.
I know, but I used the egg account thing because it was a real thing that would happen. Is that they would have like 2 or 3 of the big names of Gamergate would say some. They take like one of the tweets out of context, and then they'd always add in at least one fucking egg account every fucking time. They had a list of tweets that were harassing them every fucking time. And go back and look at articles if you can still find them. They always had at least one fucking egg account listed in it, and I'm like, bro, why include that one? Why? Why include that one? You and I both know that's just some random account. It could be your own friends that are doing it. Who the fuck knows who it is? Don't include that one. Fine. You want to say that like God, what was that one dev's name? Shit.
Well, there
The
were a
guy,
lot of devs.
the eye patch guy.
Dragonall, Brad
Yes.
Wardell, who worked at Space
Not Brad
Dock,
Wardell.
or
Not Brad Wardell. No, it wasn't Brad. His avatar was an eye patch guy. Brad had a different avatar.
oh, well, hang on. If
Red something.
I think I know what you're talking about. He was only involved in Gamergate briefly before my time, but I
Yeah,
was told by other people, hey, that guy's a legit harasser. Don't talk to him and stuff.
exactly. Like
But I don't know if I don't know what I don't know
he
if
was
that's true.
often.
I didn't look into the
No, it's true.
allegations, but
It's
oh,
true.
it's true.
It's true.
Okay.
Vouching for that is true. And he was like of the Mr. Medicare stripe of things. Internet aristocrat at the time. Where he was just there to mock and laugh at people, but he was a much more aggressive harasser type person. So yeah, he was definitely very aggressive about talking shit about people. And so it would be one of his tweets, one of Ralph's tweets, because Ralph, again, piece of shit, and an egg tweet. 9 times out of 10, those are the 3 things you'd see whenever they talk about harassment of anti-GG. Those 3 people would be featured every time. Those 3 things would be featured every
Yeah.
fucking time.
Well, I mean, look, yeah, dude, I didn't well, should we say his name?
Rogue. That's it. You're right.
RogueStar, yeah.
RogueStar.
Unless, see, I got this rule I had in the book where if somebody engaged in real harassment, I'm not going to name them because I feel like if I do that, I'm providing like moral cover for their harassment.
Yeah, you can take his name out. You can use
I
his
don't,
name as one of the harassers.
but I guess we already did that with Ralph. But like Ralph is like a public figure, so it's a different situation. But this
Well,
guy was like a
RogueStar.
rando dude.
No, he was a developer.
Well, he never even made a game or anything. He claimed he was making a game.
He claimed he was making a game, but he was major in the beginning. He was out there in the beginning. He was featured. You actually see him in a lot of art of early on Gamergate. You'll see him in a lot of. You'll see his eye patch avatar in a lot of early Gamergate artwork. So he was out there. He put himself out there on the front line, and then he just fucking pulled up stakes and vanished, I believe, at some point.
Yeah, he disappeared. He tried coming back like 2 years later.
Yeah.
After he was involved in like the first couple months, I think, and then he just got he got banned from Twitter, I think, and then he disappeared. And then like 2 years later, he tried coming back, and I remember seeing him because he tried to follow me because I was a big figure in Gamergate at the time. Like a year and a half or 2 years later, and I'm like, nah, people warned me about this guy.
Yep, rightfully so, because he was unhinged. Like he was one of the ones that were like, oh yeah, no, not him. Don't listen to him. But yeah, unfortunately, he had a very iconic avatar, and that features in a lot of GamerGate art. Sadly,
That's very unfortunate then.
it is very unfortunate.
Well, and the
that it,
people in the chat are saying that John Kelly was a harasser, which is
yep,
true actually, but he was a harasser with GG Revolt. Like during Gamergate, I don't think he actually harassed anyone, but when he
he may have. Like, I
broke
mean,
up,
that's
well, I
there was a good
what
amount of
he
people that were behind the scenes doing
yeah,
shit constantly.
what I know a specific example of when he harassed somebody when he harassed me. But that
Like,
was when he was with GG Revolt. Like he broke off from Gamergate at that point and was a legit harasser.
yeah, he was. Yeah, there's some
But
pieces of
John
shit.
Kelly's reputation was dog shit too. Like nobody liked. I mean, other than Barolo, who was also GGR, nobody liked John Kelly. Remember? Do you remember when he did the mental breakdown on stream?
Fuck. Not offhand, but
A
I mean,
bunch of
there was a couple. There was a couple of mental breakdowns
there
coming out
were
of
many
GamerGate.
mental breakdowns on stream. This is true. I'm actually interviewing. Well, I might not talk shit about anybody. I mean, it's not even talking shit, but like I think it's fine if people are emotionally invested in stuff and I don't think that like, oh, you cried on stream, therefore you're like fuck you. I think that's stupid. I think that's toxic. That's like real toxic masculinity. I think that if people want to like express themselves and express their emotions, I think there's good ways to do that and bad ways to do that. But I don't think that like, oh, you cried on stream once, therefore you're a joke and shouldn't be taken seriously. I think that that's really toxic behavior, and I don't endorse that at all. And I
Yeah.
don't think John was like a moral monster either. Like I saw him go down that rabbit hole, and I kind of tried to pull him out of it. I really did, um, because he was in the streamer community. So I actually knew John.
Mhm.
Um, like he was a legit Gamergate guy, and then he slowly became more and more unhinged over time, and like buying into conspiracy theories,
Yeah,
and
I mean,
and he was like so look, do people say I was obsessed with Gamergate, which is like probably true actually at the time, but like dude, John was like 10 times more obsessed, dude. He would spend like every day, dude, every single day of his life. And so did I. I spent a lot of time too, but maybe not as much as him. Every day, it'd be like, okay, did you see this new thing? I got this new thing, this new project, this new, oh my god, this, oh my god. Like he was, dude, it was his whole life. And then,
yeah,
and then he just like became just too far down the rabbit hole. And I tried to pull him back. I tried to save him. And it didn't,
nope.
it didn't, well, actually, after he had that meltdown, he kind of disappeared for a while. And it seemed like he, from what I hear, other people supposedly kept in touch with him. Um, I have my own like personal reasons to quote unquote dislike him, but like I don't hold a grudge. Whatever. It was 10 years ago when he harassed me. But after I tried to fucking help him, uh, but he supposedly he's in a better spot now. That's what people say.
Well, hopefully. I mean, again, it's not something that happened commonly because they want to say like anti GG would say, "Oh, there's a big pipeline to the right wing thing." No, I mean some people did. Some people who were disenfranchised, and I mean it's not impossible. It's not impossible. I mean, you look at what happened with Ralph. Like Ralph, as big a piece of shit as he was, like he had people in his orbit that followed him down the rabbit hole, right? That he that and that they're still in his community to this day. They're still there in his orbit, either as enemies or friends, because they just don't have anything else to focus their life on, and that's what they focus their life on. And it's sad and it's pathetic, but
Yeah.
it's what happened.
Well, and to be fair, like I probably didn't like try that hard to save him. Like I thought he was going down a dark path, and I tried to like warn him about this and tried to pull him back a little bit, but like I didn't like invest. Like, if I was like a real friend, I probably would have invested more time into trying like to save him, pull him
You
back,
can't.
and warn him. But but look, dude, I had my own shit going on, and he was like one of like he was one of like fucking like 200 people I'm interacting with on a regular basis. You know, I can't dedicate my whole life to trying to save this guy and pull them
Yeah.
back from the brink.
No, and that's the thing. It's like you can't change someone's mind. If that's what they really believe, then you're not going to make them change their mind. They're going to just believe what they're going to want to believe, and they're going to tilt at the windmills they're going to want to tilt at. And if you tell them that they're just going to get themselves hurt, they're going to go at it. And it's like, it's like Kingofpol. I think at one point in time, people tried to pull him back from doing the shit that he did, and no one could. It's just what it is. What it is.
Yeah. And look, he made the choices he made. He's his own man.
Yeah, and you can't.
Look, he was like,
for him.
he was like fucking like, I don't think he was old. I think he was like 19 years old. Like, I don't think he was like, a grizzly, like, dumb kids saying do stupid shit on the internet. Like, to some extent, I'm willing to like, not beat you up too much, especially if you're not that same person anymore. So like, I'm like, he was a very young man, got a little bit too obsessed with this stuff, and then he went like super right wing. He became like, you could say like alt right pipeline, like he was like the prime example of that. But he was like, aside from him and like some of the GG Revolt people, I don't think that was largely a thing. And the GG Revolt people, that was, if you remember, the unique IDs on their board, it was like 60 people.
Yeah, like I said, we were a small room, and they were a smaller part of the small room. And that's one thing people will. That's what makes me laugh about the whole anti-GG thing of like GamerGate did all these things. It's like, you realize we were like maybe 1,000 people, maybe 2,000 total. Like, we were not. It was not a big movement. We were just loud.
Well, it depends on how you like define it. Like, I heard someone I interviewed the other day said 100,000 people, which is probably, I don't know, that might be more right. But it's like, how do you define this? Like, people who are tweet about it one time, are they part of GamerGate? People who hold a generalized, I think GamerGate is good, but I'm not like actually doing anything about it. Like, are they pro gamer? Like, there's so many different layers of how you can like define this.
That's why I said we were like 1,000, because that was the kind of the core.
More than that, I think.
No, that was like the core of like who were active, right? Like, there may have been other people, I'd say that
like
were
2,000 or 3,000 like super active people. I'd say
even still like 2,000 or 3,000. Even if we go with as far as 4,000 people active, right? 4,000 people is like nothing. It's nothing. That's not even
no. I disagree
a statistic.
Completely. I think if you have 4,000 people who are like super fucking dedicated to something, that like you have like, holy shit, you can accomplish a ton of shit in the world if you have like good direction and good habits and like good coordination. Like, you can accomplish a ton of shit in the world with just like a dozen people who are like super passionate about something. And we had, if you look at like, there were probably like 100,000 people who had like some degree of interest in this. I think that's probably true, and like had some degree of involvement. But like, for people who were making this a major part of their life, probably somewhere between like probably like 2 and 10,000. And I don't know, maybe it's closer to like 10,000. I don't know. But it was a lot of people, dude. It was a lot of people.
I don't even think 10,000. I think that's really,
dude. There were like
numbers.
Millions of tweets, dude. There were
millions of tweets, and that's what I'm saying.
There were 130,000 people on Kotaku in action, and that's just one of the forums where people went to.
Yeah,
this was a huge thing.
And that's why I say like 100,000 people. Like, I can see it being tangentially, like they're having some degree of interest. But I mean, I look at it the same way you look at Markiplier having 10 million or 20 million or 30 million followers. Like, yes, he has 30 million followers on paper. He has 30 people that click the follow button. 100,000 people click the button on Kotaku in action. How many were really daily there and active? And how many were actually making content or consuming content constantly about it, and how many were just dropping in and checking out what the fuck was going on?
Well, I think that I don't want to get stuck on this because like we'll never know what the exact number of people who supported GamerGate was, but I think you're underpedaling how many people were involved in this, because like this was a huge thing, dude. There were multiple forums where there were literally thousands of people posting every single every single week.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to really see every single forum and see how many are unique and how many were just one guy who went to 3 different forums, was posting and active on those 3 forums, and
I mean, I
you
posted on
know,
multiple forums too. Like, don't get me
yeah,
wrong. Like, I was one of
and
those people as well.
that's what
So
I'm saying. Is like it's just like I pulled back and I started looking at how many people were really active and really doing it, and like how much of an impact it was really having, and I began seeing why we aren't really getting a lot of mainstream coverage and why a lot of things were happening. Because again, lacking the power, lacking the money to have a platform large enough to actually reach beyond the small circle that we had, the small room we were in. We weren't getting out there, so no one really gave a shit. And I began realizing that, yeah, without some major, like, unless like some major person, like when people are trying to get Total Biscuit on side, or like trying to get someone who has a larger following than most of us had at the time, you know, like that was the thing. Like everyone was trying to get someone bigger and bigger and keep moving it out further. And I think if we could have done that, maybe we would have seen more traction for our side of things. But I just think that when you're in when your nose is to the wall, all you see is the wall, right? So you see this massive thing in front of you that's just, it takes up your entire view. But when you take even 10 steps back, you can see the wall may just be 5 feet wide, and you're just too close to it to know that's only, you can just walk around it at that point. And that's really, I think, why nothing happened, because for all the numbers you can pull up, it's still, we're talking about, even if, let's say it's 300,000 people had, let's triple what was on Kotaku and Ashton, call it 300,000 people. How many people are actually in the gaming space in comparison to that 3,000 people?
oh, sure,
300,000
it's
people.
a fraction of
It's a
the
fraction of a fraction of a
yeah.
fraction.
No, I
You
agree.
know, you
But
know,
but
it's like when
don't
games
sell
are
us
selling 10.
short though and be like, oh, it's like 1,000 people, maybe 2,000. Like, dude, no, dude, this was a big
I'm
thing.
talking about like the really active people that were pushing things forward. And I said, like I said, between 2 and 4,000 is what I would peg it at for the really, like the people like you, me, some of the people that are more active in the community, the Ralph retorts, something, people that were heavily active in the community. There's only like a very small core that kept rolling. And it may have been people coming and going in that core through the time that was going through. But
Oh, there
at
definitely
that,
were, yeah.
there was definitely people coming and going. But I just think at that point in time, it's like there was never a ton, like it was not like 100,000 people constantly actively moving it forward, because that I think would have caused more of a shift, right? If the full 100,000 of Kotaku in action were all actively out there doing something, even if they're all doing their own little thing, and if they're all pro GG and they're all doing their own little things in different areas, I think there would have been more traction. But I think even then, you know, the fact that it was still only 100,000, yeah, even with 300,000, I think it would still be a struggle to get that movement in the industry, because again, you're pushing against the established powers that be and the money that exists there, right? So yes, you like, gamers as a group can do a ton of stuff. Like we've brought water to Africa. We've done tons of charity work. We've done all these great things that have happened because the community cares, right? But we haven't moved the needle on a lot of other issues, because to move that needle would take longer, more concerted effort with more money behind it, with people that have the ability to set up things like a competitor to YouTube or Kick, like having something like Kick or thing like that being set up by one of us, right? So that we can have a platform and have a voice and have a direction. I think this was the big thing that was lacking, and just never happened for it. And that's why it slowly died out, and we're back in the same situation we were all those years ago.
Well, and it's bullshit because you talk to some people these days. You talk to some people, and they unfortunately believe that we were a bunch of harassers and misogynists.
Yeah, because we never got the word past our little room. Our little room had the word and knew what we were about, right? That little room knew what we were about. Everyone outside that room didn't give a shit, because none of us were big enough and reliable enough to make the difference, right? because Ralph was technically big enough at the time, but he turned out to be the biggest piece of shit. So it's like, okay, if that's your representative,
Well, to
fuck
be
you.
clear, Ralph was
And
not
then,
our representative.
but I'm just saying,
We didn't
like, if
have
that's
any, but
that,
there were people who were
that's
way bigger than Ralph. I was
yeah,
probably bigger than Ralph
yeah, like, but again, like
within
you're
the
bigger,
GG
but
space.
yeah, within GG space, but outside of it, is what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Ralph
Ralph
had a bigger
obviously had a
presence.
whole presence in right wing politics outside of
Yeah,
GG, but
yeah. So he had a bigger presence to start with. Sargon of Akkad had a bigger presence, right? But he was nothing but a grifter, and he became mocked for all the stuff he said. And it's just like we never had that one. Like if we gotten someone like the level of like a Jacksepticeye or a Markiplier
well,
or
we had
someone like
Total
that.
Biscuit, but he obviously got very sick.
Well, no, TB came up and then went back. Right? He stepped up and talked about it, but then he said, "I don't want to talk about it anymore."
Yeah,
Right?
he had cancer.
Well, beyond the cancer, like even he pulled back even before he revealed he had cancer. Right? He pulled back almost immediately. Like he said
I
something
don't think
and then
that's fair.
he walked it back kind of immediately
I
because
don't think that's fair. He
he
was
got
actually
involved and stuff.
he was pretty heavily involved in the beginning. Again, this is like the first like
Yeah,
few months.
that's what I'm saying. Like he came into the space, talked for a little bit, and then he got tired of it being talked about. Then he pulled back, and shortly thereafter, he was talking about his cancer, which is sad because you know what's really like one thing that I'm kind of sad about is that I actually wound up living not too far from him for a little while, and could have actually met him before he passed. And I'm like, I didn't ever want to because he went to things around the area, and I never did. I'm like, shit, it would have been nice to like meet him. But anyways,
All right, let's move on. Do you have any thoughts on Zack Attack?
I don't remember Zack Attack at this point.
When Izzy Galvez and other anti-Gamergate supporters allegedly tried to dox Mombot and the logs were leaked.
Oh, doxing in general is stupid. I don't know why everyone we're trying to do it. Anyone involved in doxing just deserves to just go fuck off and die. I'm sorry. I'm just like it's the main reason why we don't stream anymore because it's just there's just too many fucking creepy people that just want to invade your life for no better reason than to make your life a living hell. And it's like for me, I don't want people finding out about me and where I live directly because I have a family and who knows they see some shit online and they're like, oh, I want to hate on him. And for my wife, I'm always scared that someone's gonna come fucking stalk her and
Well, and
try
it's
all this kind of shit. And so I think because people are that sick, just anyone who doxes and shit, just fuck off and die. Seriously.
no, I agree 1,000%. And it's interesting too because like someone reached out to me the other day, and they claimed that they were a new YouTuber just coming up, but the person had like a couple red flags. I mean, by a couple, I mean like some massive red flags. I don't know if they were legit or not, and they're probably watching this now. But I just wanted to, and I ended up like blocking them and banning them from my Discord and everything, just because you gotta be like super careful these days, dude. Like
Yeah.
you get some like red flags from people.
Was that crazy person on Twitter? Same person?
I I don't know. There's so
The
many
one
crazy
the
people on
one the
Twitter.
one the one you DM'd me about said don't don't deal with him. He's a stalker.
Oh no!
That's a different one. Yeah.
That's one of the GG Revolt people. Dude, that GamerGate Revolt person. I'm pretty sure I know who it is. I'm like 95% sure I know who it is. He's been stalking me for months, ever since I came back.
Ugh.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
weird
No.
dude.
Yeah. No. That's the thing. There's a bunch of crazy ass people
Oh yeah,
online.
no, yeah, it's yeah. There's some real nutters out there. All right. What do you think of the
What?
term sealioning?
Oh, that's the Oh, it's one of those what do you call them? Oh yeah, bullshit terms. Uh oh, I fucking hate sea lining, gaslighting, and oh my god, just stop. Just it may take more than one word to describe what you're talking about, but just stop making up words or making words
Yeah, the
have
sealioning
meanings.
thing is bullshit. I it's literally it's like oh well you're politely asking me questions about things that I've said in public. It's like yeah that's kind of how like
Yeah,
debates and claims that you make in work, right? Like you make a
yeah,
claim, let's defend the claim, let's question
yeah,
aspects. Like you if you make a point and other people are like, well I don't agree with that point, and you're in a public space, that's 1,000% fair.
yeah.
That's especially the internet.
Yeah, people seem to forget that Twitter is public half the time.
Yeah.
They're like, "Why are you here talking to me?" It's like, you made a post on public social media. It was put in my feed. I have replied. You have two options. You can read it or you can ignore it. I'm not forcing you to do either. You're opting to do one or the other. Just stop. Just stop. Look, this is a safe space. Don't get in my safe space. Fuck off. It's Twitter. Fucking don't post on it or put yourself to private if you don't want anyone responding to your shit.